Today I will be sharing a part of my testimony with you all. This is a part of my story that I feel deeply convicted to share. Um, I'm not going to be able to fit it all in one video, so it's going to be like a series. I don't know how many videos it's going to be, but it's a lot to it. So, this will be Asia's Story, episode 1, and I came up with this quote the other day when I connected it to scripture. So the quote is, "The storm isn't always pleasant, but God is present." I feel like I recently went through one of the most difficult storms I've ever experienced in my life. I was 23 at the time. I'm 24 now. And I feel like things are slowly, like that water. You know how Jesus was in the boat with them disciples? And he woke up and he calmed that water down. Yeah. That water. All right, y'all know I had to connect it to scripture because it's very much scripture coded. But the scripture that I decided to connect my story to is Matthew 8:24-26, and it reads, "Suddenly a fierce storm struck the lake, with waves breaking into the boat. But Jesus was sleeping. The disciples went and woke him up, shouting, 'Lord, save us, we're going to drown.' Jesus responded, 'Why are you afraid? You have so little faith.' Then he got up and rebuked the wind and waves, and suddenly there was a great calm." All right, y'all, so let's get into it. So, last year, August 2025, August 13th to be exact, August 13th, 2025, I moved to Atlanta, Georgia by myself, y'all. By myself. I was 23 years old. I had less than $1,000 overall, but what I did have was faith. I can't necessarily say that I was scared, not because I felt like I was too good to be scared, but because I deeply believed it was time for me to leave my hometown. And I also felt convicted to relocate to Atlanta, Georgia, which I did. um, and as dumb as I felt when I first did it, y'all, I think it's one of the best things I've ever done for myself, if I'm being completely honest. So, obviously, I had no idea what was ahead of me, no idea. And I did not expect ease. Like, I never expected it to be easy because, number one, because I was doing it by myself. And number two, that's a big move. That's a big move for a young lady. Like, 23 years old, no parental support, no parental guidance. This was just me and God. This is where I feel like my Father is leading me. It's time for me to go. Like, I'm like, I need to get up out of here. So I had faith, but obviously I did not expect ease. So before I moved to Georgia, of course I was planning, of course I was budgeting, of course I was looking at housing options. I ended up stumbling upon Pad Split, and I had booked an apartment through their through their website, I believe. I think it was through the website. I don't know if it was through the app or the website, something like that. But I had booked me an apartment through Pad Split. Y'all, when I finally got to the apartment, I knew I wasn't living there. First of all, the apartment was dirty and it was incomplete. Like, they were still working on the apartment. So, and I remember just feeling like just so uncomfortable. Like, I was just so uncomfortable in the area. There was such an eerie kind of feeling. And thank God I have a sister that lives out here. My sister literally moved. She moved to Georgia a month before I got here. So she's not my blood sister, but we sisters, okay? But thank God my sister was out here because she was with me, and I knew that she knew I was just extremely uncomfortable, and she's just like, "I don't feel comfortable leaving you. Like, we need to figure something out tonight." So I ended up booking a hotel room that night, and I lived in a hotel for 9 days. And of course, living in a hotel is not cheap. So that ate my money up quickly, like very quickly. I think the first hotel that I got was like $200 my first night. And then after that, I booked an extended stay hotel. That was like $450. And of course, I still gotta eat. I still gotta buy things for myself. So money is going quickly. Like, it's running out. I'm like, I don't know what I'm about to do. However, I landed August 13th. I had a job by August 17th. And I feel like that was, at the time, that was one of the main reasons why I felt led to stay, because I'm like, why would God allow me to get a job here if I'm not supposed to be here? And the fact that I got a job within 4 days of being here, like, y'all, I was not playing. I'm like, I told my sister, I'm like, I need a job now. Like, we need to go find me a job, because I knew that I didn't have that much funding, and I didn't want there to be, like an extended gap between using the rest of the money that I had versus getting some more money. Because I was down to my last and I don't have family out here, I had to figure something out. Because I'm like, okay, like, I'm just about out of money. Like, I probably only had enough money to, give myself something to eat, just cover the basics. But I definitely didn't have enough money to cover another week in the hotel. So I'm like, okay, I got to figure something out. So I'm searching, I'm calling around. I ended up coming across this homeless shelter. And I had faith in it because it was a faith-based homeless shelter. And that was one of the worst experiences I've ever had. I remember just feeling so low. Thank God for my sister, because she got up at like 5 in the morning to drop me off there. I had to stand in line for hours. I was so scared. I felt so low. I just felt like a failure. Like, I just felt like I failed myself. I'm like, I would have never guessed I would be in this situation. Not because I felt like I was above anybody else that was there or trying to get in there, but because it was so scary. That's one of the most scariest and traumatic things I've ever had to face in my life. I really, truly do not wish that on nobody. And I remember I had gone on a Friday, and do y'all know they would only call a certain amount of names every day. So if your name wasn't called, you got to come back and try again. Mind you, intake was only Monday through Friday. I was trying to get in on a Friday. Do y'all know my name was the last name called? I was this close to, like, if I didn't get in the homeless shelter, I don't know what I would have done. Like, yes, going back home was an option, but I'm like, I felt convicted to stay. I'm like, I'm not going back home. Like, it took so much for me to even get here. I'm like, turning around to go back home is literally crazy. But yeah, I felt so stupid. I felt so embarrassed. It was such a humbling experience. Like, having to submit myself into that homeless shelter was such a humbling experience. I cried and cried and cried and cried. Like, my first 3 days of being there, like, I just kept crying. Might be okay for a little bit, kept crying. Had my Bible in my left arm close to me, and I was carrying my stuff in the other arm. I didn't want to talk to nobody. I was so scared, y'all. Like, I was so scared. Like, that's when I first started to feel fear upon moving here, because I wasn't scared before I had to move in there. But that right there, it was so traumatic, y'all. But this is part 1.